As am I. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
1.
What up, nerds? Here we are back in your ear holes for another A Winner's You podcast. Today, though, we're talking about, what have we been playing? We're not playing Resistance Fall of Man. We're not here to talk about Castlevania. What else have we started and not decided to podcast about?
Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk, yeah, there's another one.
Interestingly, actually, I started playing.
We're here to talk about the Dreamcast.
Yes, we are. After we played a quick round of Horde on what's that game called?
Something about
Zombie Army. Zombie Army or something.
Zombies, not Sniper Elite.
Yeah, I played Sniper Elite Resistance for a couple of hours today. That is good fun. Really good fun.
Yeah, I really want to play it because that used to be on Game Pass before I.
It is still, yeah.
To the Xbox brand for the time being.
Are you going back now that they've dropped the price, but not all the way?
You know what? No.
Okay.
Like I find myself wanting to. I'm not like actively angry at them anymore, but also I still don't trust them because now they've got an established pattern of behavior of just like full blown Keir Starmering themselves and blowing in the wind. Like, yeah, they just sort of like changed opinion, and like what sort of scared me away was less. I mean, the price became ridiculous, but
yeah, it did.
What scared me away was that I no longer trusted them with my library, and thinking like I don't know, like I would love to know how much I've spent in there because like it might not be far off, like certainly thousands,
£1 million,
certainly thousands, but it's like
definitely.
I was going to say like 10 grand, and I thought that's too much, but that might be right because I was a day oneer on Xbox Live back in the OG Xbox days. So that's like, I mean, like, okay, well, it's not really from the OG Xbox days, but there was DLC of sorts then. But I've probably been actively putting money into that ecosystem since what 2003, 3 when the 360 came. When did the 360 come out? 5? I was finished school, was I?
2005, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a long time and a lot of money. And I just thought when they were sort of edging towards, I don't know, what seemed to me like vacating the space and just becoming a publisher, I was like, well, I don't trust you any longer. So I'm now over in PlayStation where I can't buy games on CD keys. That's my main bugbear with
but we're getting money back for that.
Oh, yeah, I see they got taken to court. Are we getting money back for that, are we?
I believe so. I believe we'll be in whenever the appeals are done and whenever is actually put into practice.
Yeah,
we'll be getting a couple of like 150 quid or something to our PSN accounts. I bought loads of the games that they were talking about in the period they were talking about it.
But yeah, I don't know.
The thing about that is though that I don't know if I've not seen anywhere the notion that Sony's going to then start doing that.
Yeah.
Like I've read all about, like you could be entitled to. Have you bought a PlayStation game on the PSN store? You could be entitled to compensation. I've not seen anyone say, and they will also have to sell their keys on third-party retailers. So
yeah, we'll see.
We wait and see. I mean, that's what the fuck. If the industry's going to the digital route, then you've got to open it up.
You've got to open it up in some way.
You can't have a monopoly on the product at that point. That's just bollocks.
Yeah, especially given that they essentially have no competition at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just anti-consumer for Sony. But yeah, I don't know. I never want to. I used to be a man of drawing hard lines. I don't want to draw a hard line, and I don't want to say that there's nothing that would ever bring me back to Xbox because at heart I am an Xbox fan and I do like that controller. I'm just not there yet.
Technically means you're a Sega fan because as we'll get onto. Very much, at least in the original Xbox, that was sort of a spiritual Dreamcast 2, wasn't it? With a lot of Sega stuff.
I guess
even at launch, a lot of exclusives from Sega, and of course, Microsoft basically went into Sega HQ to help them with the Dreamcast, and then got some clever ideas off the back of it and fucked them over with it.
They've had quite a good sort of long-running relationship with Sega, haven't they? Even since sort of day one. Because I know, like, whenever there was big rumors about Microsoft before they bought Activision, about them buying like a big publisher, Sega was always one of the one of the ones that were popped up as a possibility.
Well, that was around that was during the development of the Dreamcast when Sega knew they were completely fucked, and they were massively in the hole. And Microsoft was sending in all these lads to help them put Windows CE on there, effectively so that they could have DirectX, and they could offer DirectX to third-party developers, because obviously the Saturn was so unfriendly to developers that they wanted to really right that wrong with the Dreamcast. So they opened up, like, they had their own software development kits, but they also wanted DirectX on there through their custom version of Windows CE, which you see on the front of your Dreamcast console, that it talks about running it.
I was thinking back to the days that we read the Console Wars, as well as that excellent book, Service Games.
Yeah.
And they also spoke
that guy's problematic, apparently.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, Sam Pettis is apparently a bit of a MAGA man.
Oh, great. Good book, though. But
really good.
Yeah, I was trying to think back, and I seem to remember there also been chat about, like, there's a few key decisions, and sort of you'll know about this from me, so, like, I don't know, peek behind the curtain listeners, this is going to be a podcast that is going to be heavily carried by Alex, because he's much more of a Sega man than I am. But I was thinking back to those books, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the fate of the Dreamcast, and by extension Sega, was sort of written before it came out, and by a lot of the sort of decisions that was made by the Sega Saturn, like the lack of absolutely, the lack of a joystick, and they just opted for a D-pad. They opted for arcade games, which over, like, the sort of developing narratives and more, I don't want to call them in-depth games, but you know what I'm getting at when I'm talking about that in terms of, like, game direction. They just made a lot of different decisions, and it put them in a financial hole that even by time the Dreamcast launched, it was looking like Sega were done. Yeah,
which I'll expand on later. And of course, when they did go the opposite way to try and offer up, a full, long, extended, big AAA game, they made the most expensive game of all time with Shenmue and got nowhere near a return on it.
Again, like when you were talking about that last night when we were chatting, it sort of tinkled a little bell in my head, and it rung me back to, I remember listening to a video game podcast back in the day on IGN that I can't remember which one it was, but it wasn't the best. And one of those hosts made a big thing and, like, almost sold it like a badge of honor that he didn't listen to other podcasts. And I remember thinking at the time, well, how do you know how the medium's developing? That's like saying you write books and you don't read. And then, like,
that's a Garth Marenghi line, that is.
Yeah.
I'm one of those few people you meet who's made more podcasts than he's listened to.
Which then tickled a little thing in my head. I've got a feeling that the guy that made Shenmue, when the new one was released, basically said that he hadn't played a video game since
he did
the original like Shenmue or Shenmue 2 or whatever it was, and that's just like, well, that is not a good thing.
No, not when people played it. Everyone went, oh yeah, no, he hasn't, has he?
You didn't tell us that. It's obvious. So famous video game developer that doesn't play video games, Shenmue.
I think that's Yu Suzuki, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yes, to close that loop, at the point in time when Sega were offering this up, Microsoft came in to help them, and then Bernie Stoller at the time was, like, telling everybody that they should sell to Microsoft back then, because that way they could have got out of the console hardware market clean, to quote him, instead of how they ended up doing so, which was anything but. Do you want me to just smash through loads of Sega history, or shall we?
I need to move this. So before I start, what should I say? I am a senior project manager for a local authority, and as part of that, I was moving stuff into a shop that is owned by the local authority that I work for, and it was an ex-fashion store that has sort of gone out of business and shut down. And we were moving stuff in, and there's just a lot of sort of abandoned junk, most of which are like things like till reels and clothes hooks, plastic bags and things like that. And so we were sort of clearing it out and moving things to the tip and things like that. And I discovered this that I decided to make off with. So it's something that's, I guess, technically...
I did notice this earlier on, and I thought that looks new.
But it was something stolen that was going in the bin. So I thought, well, what do I need? And it's the most pointless thing that I don't need, but I've taken it because I like it. And it's just a tiny little monitor. And I think it's really cool.
Oh, hello, I can see myself in that.
But basically the idea is thinking, so like whenever I'm recording this podcast, I quite often have to like minimize things, and I've now got the fear of God after the potential problems we had with Audacity last time around. So I need to find a way to mount this somewhere so that when I'm recording a podcast, I've got like an Audacity monitor, and that's going to be my dedicated Audacity monitor that will just sit and I can keep it up so I know nothing is crashing. And I think it says on the front it's a touch screen, but I tested it today and it doesn't touch. So I don't know. I think it maybe used to be a till screen.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably.
So I've now moved that, and if you were listening to the podcast, that was a completely pointless little sidetrack. But hey, here we are. Anyway, yes,
here we
you
are.
were going to dive in, Alex. What are you diving into?
I've done a lot of Dreamcast research, so I'm going to tell you the tale. The reason we're doing this podcast, actually, the reason we're doing this podcast is because today, 2026, the end of March, marks 25 years since the Dreamcast was discontinued, and then of course Sega forever exited the hardware market. So that is why we're doing it. So I wanted to sort of tell the tale of the Dreamcast to you, dear listener.
Before you start, do you think that given the way that the maybe this is a pointless question because we're maybe about to get one, but do you think we'll ever see another entrant into the console space in the way that we saw during this era? So like, we had Sega obviously came in the, well, as they did, sort of grew in the 90s, and then we had Xbox come and PlayStation come. And then, do you think we'll ever get another, or do you think the margins for these things are so tight now that the only thing we're going to get is sort of open source PCs like we're getting with? I was
going to say it's more likely to be that. I mean, we have had attempts of different variety over the years that have just came and went and completely died.
It just feels like one of these things that is
the Ouya, what's that one that the OnLive, the Stadia.
Yeah.
So I just cannot see how, if you look at the state of the market now and the layoffs that continually happen and the rising costs of development and all that kind of stuff, I just can't see a market that continues to exist in the future with just 3 major players. It might not even be 3 for very long either, but I think that there will end up being more entrants into it. Just whether they actually know what they're doing, or whether anyone who's actually a viable entrant into the market could ever have a goodwill towards it to carry it with that, because we had Google, which doesn't have goodwill towards it really. Who else is going to do it? Meta?
Probably
no one likes them.
Shutting down their VR division. That was maybe their
dream. Exactly. Yeah,
it's also you'll never.
So Valve is probably
Valve is
the closest thing we had.
The tricky thing is I guess you'll never know until it's out, because people were skeptical about all those consoles that you listed. But then that's like we're looking at the ones we've got just now, like looking back through rose-tinted spectacles to an extent, because Microsoft, Sony were very much people were very suspicious of it and thought that this thing was going to be silly. Their consoles were going to be silly when they came along. So like, what
you mean PlayStation?
Yeah, there was a lot of skepticism going around. It's like, oh, who are these? I don't know, like hi-fi manufacturers. What is this? Windows guys coming along and things like that. So like, I guess until it comes along and it's a success, we probably won't know. But I just there's so much money needed to get into it. I just don't think.
And hardware's not the way that things are going either. So I think we're more likely to see like edge case entrants into it who are just going to offer up digital storefronts and things. The stuff, like Netflix is probably one that goes under the radar somewhat, where they're offering, you have a Netflix subscription, you have video games that you can play on a tablet, or probably even an Android device.
Like the Epic launchers, maybe an equivalent.
I can see Amazon moving into it one day.
Well, they've got their Luna stuff, don't they? That still seems to be hovering around. Because I got I got a Fire Stick recently, and it's all over that Luna.
Yeah. So I mean, they're
It's a store, really.
soft entrance rather than hard entrance, aren't they? I think that's probably all we're ever going to get. Very interesting, this whole Neo Geo thing, which obviously is not a new entrant into the market, but obviously there's a company called PlayOn who have developed basically the Neo Geo AES with 4K whatever output as well as AV output that I have already pre-ordered because I am an idiot. Lots of people don't like that as a conscious. I mean, there's no ethics in capitalism anyway. But so SNK recently were bought by the Saudi investment fund, I think.
Right. Okay.
So they're basically now owned by Saudi Arabia. So unfortunately, yes, I have paid into the blood money.
I don't want to be controversial with this, but I feel like it becomes I understand sort of people's moral stance with these sort of things, but it becomes increasingly difficult to like anything if that's where you're going to draw your line. I mean, like Coca-Cola, for example.
That was my point.
Have got problems with their morals over the years, as do McDonald's and like fast food companies and things like that. And I mean, like if you're a sports fan, if you like golf, if you like football, if you like any sort of sport, the NBA is getting into China now. Like, there's just no escaping it, really.
Nope.
I think you've got to. I understand that people have got their morals, and you draw your line where it feels comfortable to you. But drawing your hard and fast one like that is perhaps more difficult. And if they sell a good product, then okay.
Yeah. Sega sold a good product with the Dreamcast, which I will talk about now. So there was a lot of corporate shake-up at Sega. Chime in whenever you want, just to stop me from.
I've done a lot of talking,
on.
so I've got my talking out of the way. So
okay. They obviously had lots of recent failures. The CD, the Mega CD, the 32X, which of course weren't consoles. They were add-ons, really, but they were very ill-judged. Although some of them, forward-thinking, but going against what Sega were actually doing within different departments across different oceans was really, really hurting the company. The Saturn, of course, was also a failure. And when you consider how Sega was during the early 90s with the Mega Drive, by the end of the Saturn's life, Sega had a 3% of the market share, which is ridiculously pathetic. And so they brought in Bernie Stolar, who I mentioned earlier, the man who wanted to sell to Microsoft. That was
by the end of which?
By the end of the Saturn.
The Saturn, okay.
Sort of in the lead up to the Dreamcast, they had a 3% market share at this point.
Do you
Bernie
think,
Stolar,
how much? So a lot of these books suggest that a lot of the reasons around Sega going from the success of things like the Mega Drive to the abject apparent failure of the Saturn largely revolve around hubris. Do you think how much of that do you think are you going to get to that? How much of that is true? How much of it is just
we're largely past that
business decisions?
I think it's there's definitely elements of all of that in there. There is absolutely a hubris that Sega thought that they could. Well, they obviously did think that they could run with all of these products at the same time. Ultimately, there was miscommunication and a lack of trust from Sega of Japan to Sega of America. There was also some jealousy there, from what I can glean, that they did not like the fact that it felt that Sega of America were the successful arm of the Mega Drive. And especially with the way that Sega of America did things, it was really odd. It's a very, Japanese culture is very, very different to American culture.
Yeah, so it's almost the antithetical cultures, aren't they? They really clash in many ways.
Yeah, exactly. And whereas maybe the Mega Drive kind of started as like this dream arcade porting machine, Sega of America turned it into like, the cool kids machine. And to do that, they had to do a lot of mudslinging and attitude and all this kind of stuff. And that obviously didn't sit very well with Sega of Japan. So there was a bit of bad blood there anyway. But you know, while they were developing things like the 32X and stuff, then the Saturn was obviously coming along that Sega of America had no idea about at the time. They were kind of just developing it in secret in Japan while Sega of America were pumping out these add-ons. It was like, yeah. Ultimately, it all still got okayed by the president, so they didn't ever go, well, this is too much shit, we're going to confuse people. I think there was even one part where the hubris that you mentioned came into it, and this was around the 32X, I think, where they were trying to market it like they actually said publicly, oh, this is something that you can buy the 32X now while you save your money for the Saturn, so you don't have to, you can have this while you're waiting. It's kind of like that. What was that? Who was it that said that about the PlayStation? You get 2 jobs or whatever.
2 jobs, yeah.
Yeah, don't worry. We've brought this out. You can buy this now while you wait for the next thing you're going to buy of ours.
The old Don Matrix.
Mad.
We've got an offline console for you. It's called the Xbox 360. Infamously bad comments over the years.
Yeah,
they've all done
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bernie Stolar, he actually was part of the PS1 launch team, which I didn't realize. So that's why they kind of brought him in. And he became Sega of America's COO in March 97 and then president in March 98. And apparently he says that the year before the Dreamcast launched, Sega had lost close to $1 billion. So he had to cut staff down from 300 to 90 staff. And that's going to play that is going to play a big part in basically everything about the Dreamcast, is that they were broke and desperate. And this was one last go, but it was one last go with, like, you know, the handbrake on. They couldn't do everything they wanted to. So there's a guy called Shuichiro Irimajiri, which is a great surname. And he was Sega of America president since 96. But he was made Sega president in 98 after Hayao Nakayama, who is still alive, aged 93. And if you look at a picture of him, even at the time, was a massive fan of the comb over. Go and have a look at just put Nakayama Sega and have a look at the state of that comb over. He gave up his presidency to move into being vice chairman. Yeah, see?
It's like it actually looks like, people talk about Lego hair. It looks like he's just plopped a Lego head on his. Yeah, he's turned that into a style.
He certainly has for 93 years. Well, maybe not all 93 of them. Let's say 63 years. So he gave up being president and he moved on to just like the board of directors. And Isao Okawa apparently forced him out after the Dreamcast failed to meet expectations, and he took his place as assistant president. And then in 2000, Irimajiri left. So Okawa was president of Sega, was promoted to president of Sega. And before the Dreamcast came out, this is all the corporate shakeup I'm just doing at first here. So that's when Peter Moore came in as the senior VP of marketing. And he came in from Reebok to help with the US launch.
What a weird career that guy's had. What did he do? Like Reebok to Sega to
Microsoft
to Liverpool Football Club.
With his Halo tattoos and his GTA tattoos that weren't actually tattoos, of course. He seems like it's pretty switched on dude, though. I think he seems like an all right guy. I think he's ever done anything that's made me think he was an arsehole.
Yeah, he's just released a book if anyone's interested in his career.
Oh, I am. Yeah, I think I am interested in that. So yeah, he came to help with the US launch of the Dreamcast, which is still amazing and awesome that it came out on the 9th of the 9th, 1999. So 9999 was the release date of the Sega Dreamcast in the US, which is so awesome. And Bernie Stolar's beginning of his journey to getting shit canned from Sega started when he went against Sega of Japan by pricing the Dreamcast with a launch price of $199, and they wanted to price it at $249 so it could be profitable from the start, but he didn't. Again, they were desperate. So just prior to it coming out, Bernie Stolar was fired and got a $5 million severance package from Sega.
So another controversial part that I'm sure you're about to go into is that they didn't really tell retailers. They just sort of, is this the console that they stealth announced?
No, that was the Saturn.
Was that the Saturn? Okay.
That was the Saturn when they dropped the launch day at E3.
That's what I was thinking of. That's the Saturn.
At the same time that Sony came out and told everybody that their console was $100 cheaper. And it basically died on launch day.
No.
So, as we said earlier, they wanted to make some changes from the Saturn, which initially had this late stage panic where they saw the PS1 specs. So Nakayama shit his pants. His comb over like flipped all the way over and he had to comb it back down again. He was so shocked.
Just
and
stood
he
straight
ordered
up
them.
an end.
Yeah, exactly. And he ordered them to change. He ordered the designers to change what was already basically decided in the specs. So they added a new CPU and a second GPU. And those dual processors were really difficult to program for, famously so, infamously so. Even though it was like the most powerful 2D machine ever, it was in a 3D arms race. So it was losing the battle that it should have been fighting. So for the Dreamcast, they allowed Sega of America and Sega of Japan to make different designs each. So Sega of America based theirs on a GPU by a company called 3DFX. And Hideki Sato in Sega of Japan, he was the Saturn designer as well. He wanted to use the Power VR2 chip by NEC, who obviously had previously been a rival of Sega with their what do they call it, PC Engine, or the Turbo Graphics in the States. That was 100 times more powerful than the Saturn at this point. They were going to choose 3DFX, but 3DFX had an investor call and revealed details about the console which hadn't actually been announced anywhere yet. So Sega fucked them off and went with NEC. So they blew their load on an investor call and Sega found out and shit canned them. So that was the end of them. Now the big thing that the Dreamcast wanted to have that Stoller, I think, would probably still, what do you call it, like die on that hill. And it is a weird hill to die on, but at least he'd be dead. It wanted a built-in 56k modem in it. And they also offered a year's worth of internet access with every console.
Okay.
And that was paid for out of Isao Okawa's own pocket.
Oh my god.
He invested $900 million of his own personal fortune into the console, all told. There'll be more about him later. Of course, it had the VMU memory cards with the LCD screens and the little mini games that you can play on them, which was badass and has never been replicated, sadly. It had proprietary GD-ROM discs, which hold more data than CD-ROM, and they thought were harder to pirate. So Stolar wanted to spend more money on the DVD and having a DVD player, and he wanted internal storage in there as well. But they only had one. They can only afford one of the three. So he decided that online was the most important thing based on the way that the society at large was going, the world was going, how the internet was at that point. That was what he decided on. So because of budget limitations, no internal storage, no DVD player, which I think the DVD player omission was a massive factor.
It's funny. I'm fascinated by these people and decisions that are sort of the correct decision in the fullness of time, but ultimately too early. Like
definitely too early.
Yeah, like the thing that basically torpedoed the Xbox One, for example, is making it sort of online requirements. And if that had come out in 2026,
it has already. Games
like,
consoles have come out without DVD.
So it just
support.
went too soon, and it proved terminal. And I guess this is partly true of this as well.
Yeah,
because people also remember the modem, remember it really fondly.
Yeah, well, it was groundbreaking. You know, this is where online console gaming started. That is a fact. It just wasn't very good. Well, Choo Choo Rocket was okay, as far as I can remember. It's funny. I remember playing Choo Choo Rocket online and thinking it ran fine, but I bet it didn't.
Yeah, but
it can't have been. It can't have ran well. Unless, it was built within the limitations of netcode at the time. Maybe it was. But yeah, Stoller also wanted a dual stick controller, which I can't fathom why they didn't do when the DualShock already existed at that point. I think we can pause here to get a David interjection of, because I know a lot of people have this opinion that if you're talking about major consoles, and let's discount like the NES and all that shit, A lot of people do think that like, the Dreamcast controller is one of the worst controllers ever made. Thoughts? What's worse? And how many things are better?
I do have one. I'm just wondering if I've got one here that I can look at. No, it must be up the loft. I remember it being quite bulky, almost like Duke levels bulky.
Yeah. So like, the shape of it is not. I mean, I don't know why it's so sharp. It is quite a pointy thing.
Someone with it.
But I think this fits in my hands quite nicely.
People saying that it's bad. I don't think I agree with them. I think it's if you added a second analog stick to that, I think that's a perfectly decent controller. And like it had to be bulky so that you could put the VMU in it.
And it had 2 slots, one for so you could have a rumble pack as well.
Yeah, which Nintendo did not have at that time. You had to choose rumble or memory. That was your option. No, I think it's fine. I don't hate it. I like it. I enjoy a big controller. Like I'm probably one of the few people that probably looks back on the Duke with some fondness. Like I don't want to feel like my fingers are going to cramp up. I want to be comfortable.
I've never found. I actually think this fits my the contours of my hand quite nicely, and I think there's definitely elements of Duke in this.
Because again, like controversial, but if we're talking about controllers, like I'm not. Okay, the PS5 controller's fine, but I'm not a massive fan of the PlayStation controller. So
I never really have been either. I think the DualSense is. Did you just say the DualSense then?
Yeah, it's obviously their best one. It's okay, but I still personally prefer the Xbox one. I like the offset deep.
I prefer I prefer the feel of the Xbox one, but obviously the features on the DualSense are
yes. But yeah, all to say is that I'm not necessarily against having a bigger controller. In fact, I think there are plenty of cases when the bigger controllers preferable, and I think it's perfectly fine. I don't really see I didn't realize it was so controversial.
Yeah, there just seems to be. I've seen like Reddit threads and stuff where people talking about how it's like the worst controller ever designed. But
yeah, it sounds like the internet being the internet to me. Like, it's absolutely not.
It just has such a unique look to it. Like no other controller really looks like that with its shape and the random circles around it and the VMU support. I think it's badass. So I'm not having that.
No.
Without all of these things in it, and with just kind of like making, online was more of a forward-thinking thing, but there's one of the senior producers at Sega America called it a classic example of solving last year's problem. The infrastructure of it was very similar to Sega's Naomi arcade board, which was developed in tandem with and licensed to developed in tandem with the Dreamcast. So the Dreamcast came out and a new arcade board was coming out at the same time, and they licensed that board out to Capcom, Namco, and Taito. And Capcom obviously loved the Dreamcast. They put out a lot of stuff on there.
Yeah, this
probably
really
most of its best stuff. And I mentioned it earlier. Obviously, it had the custom version of Windows CE and DirectX capabilities due to Microsoft's historical partnership with Sega, where they actually ported Saturn titles to PC together. It was probably one of their first collaborations. Games like Panzer Dragoon were ported to PC. But of course, that ultimately gave Microsoft an insight into console manufacturing and the console business, and which they would basically later use effectively against Sega to kill them off. So the launches. So unfortunately, this NEC chip that won out after 3DFX fucked themselves. NEC had issues modifying their Power VR 2 for the Dreamcast. So the shipment to Sega was actually behind schedule. Sega threatened to sue them over it as well, and they had to push the launch back in Japan by a week, even though which then affected the number of consoles they could ship to retailers. Although almost all the Japanese consoles were already pre-ordered and reserved, so it basically sold out on launch day. So it sounds good, but because of all the problems and the late shipping. They sold 140,830 Dreamcasts in the first 3 days. The PS2 sold 600,000 in 24 hours.
Yeah, that's not good
So
numbers,
it's
is it?
disastrous in comparison. The launch games on the Dreamcast as well were pretty shit.
What have we got?
The best of them was probably Virtua Fighter 3 TB, but that was built on the Model 3 hardware rather than the Naomi hardware, so it's already old. And they did plan to have 4 games in 4 weeks in the launch window.
So
but
is
that
this
went to
partly
shit.
why? So when I was sort of researching my favorite games.
You look up the actual launch game, because I haven't got that listed down.
Yeah, when I was, I'm trying to speak and type at the same time. Dreamcast.
I'll send you the.
games.
I'll put the link in here. You can read them out. There you go. So on a wiki, it's got everything on there.
You sent it in Discord.
Yes. For some reason, it hasn't sent it as a link. I apologise.
That's fine. Yeah, when I was researching games, just to make sure I was remembering that the game I was thinking of was the correct game, I saw that there was problems with Sega Rally in that it was developed before the final specs of the Dreamcast was announced. I take it that's for similar reasons then that it came out sort of not quite as smooth as you would have hoped.
Yeah, you and I are people who were probably too, naive and young at the time when we played it, who probably both really enjoyed Sega Rally 2, but that is a quite the controversial game in Sega fandom. It is not a well-liked port at all.
Okay, so what we've got on the 27th of November 1998, the Japanese launch has got a bunch of games I've never heard of. So we've got Pen Trilkalon. Is that right? And we've got Virtua Fighter 3 TB, like you said, a game called July, and something called Godzilla Generations.
That's not good, is it?
No. The US seems to be slightly better. We've got more games at least. We've got Aero Wings, Air Force Delta, Blue Stinger, Kart Flag to Flag, Expendable, The House of the Dead 2, Hydro Thunder, Monaco Grand Prix, Mortal Kombat Gold, NFL 2K, NFL Blitz 2000, Pen Trilkalon again.
What? How the hell did that make it over there?
It's one that doesn't have a link either, so I need to figure out what this game is. Power Stone, Ready to Rumble Boxing, Sonic Adventure, Soul Calibur, TNN Motorsports Hardcore Heat, Tokyo Extreme Racer, and Trick Style. The European launch,
that's far better.
Yeah. The European launch on the 14th of October, roughly a month later, had Blue Stinger, Dynamite Cop, Expendable, Incoming, Pen Trilkalon again, Sega Rally Championship 2, Sega Bass Fishing, Sonic Adventure, Toy Commander, and Virtua Fighter 3 TB.
Interesting. Yeah, so they Sonic Adventure was actually planned to come out in those 4 weeks. 4 games in 4 weeks. That was one of them that was planned but was delayed. They were pretty much all delayed. And there was a game called Geist Force, which was cancelled entirely, which is crazy considering that was going to be a launch game in the window of the first month, and it got cancelled. Before the PS2 had come out, of course, the US launch of the Dreamcast was an unprecedented success. It sold 100,000 units in just a few hours. It actually beat Star Wars The Phantom Menace for the record of the highest earning entertainment launch ever when it came out. It sold close to 250,000 units in 24 hours, which is close to $100 million in profit. And within 2.5 months, it sold more than 1,000 units. And in the UK, the launch was delayed by a month because they had issues with the online service. And apparently, the editor of the UK official Dreamcast magazine has said that Sega proofread every single page of the magazine and made them take out any reference to it having online capabilities because it wasn't ready yet.
Listeners are going to have to Google and watch some gameplay of Pen.
Tell us what is it? What can you describe it?
It seems to be a video game.
So it's better than Mixtape then.
Yeah. It's a racing game of sorts where you
Okay.
appear to be a penguin.
Right.
The first race I saw seemed to be, you know, the Mario 64 snow level where you race a
Oh
penguin
yeah.
downhill. It seems to be that the game. However, it's now running. The penguin is now running on land and has just jumped in some
Oh, it's like
water.
Tony Hawk's Underground.
Yes,
You can get off your penguin and run
you
around.
get off your penguin. Yeah, so you basically you press A to stroke, and you have to. It's like a timing racing game. So you're sort of stroking, doing the breaststroke on land or in water, in time while you race. And there's a penguin with an eye patch. It's bizarre, truly bizarre. This game.
Hmm.
I kind of want to play it.
It survived all 3 launches that
It
were
did.
separated by some time. So there must have been a reason that was
It's
wanted in 3 territories.
absolutely insane.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to play it. Right.
Sorry,
Let's get
I'm
into
back
the
in
death.
a game. A pen is.
No, I wanted you to tell us what that was. That's an important part of the Dreamcast history. All 3 launches.
So.
Yeah. Right. So the problems. Okay. So third-party publishers focused on arcade gaming. They were easy to sell on what the Dreamcast could do.
In my mind, yeah, the sort of Saturn to a less extent, because I'm just less aware of it, and the Dreamcast,
yes,
are very much arcade style consoles, bringing the arcade into the home.
Yeah, and I think from what we discussed very briefly last night, that I'll let you touch on, when we talk about our top 5 games each. It's one of the things that makes the Saturn and the Dreamcast almost timeless and certainly more palatable to go back and play than something like the N64 maybe, where the games are short and sharp, they still look good, they still play really nicely, and if you're doing that sort of thing where you just want to jump back and have a little bit of nostalgia for 20 minutes, that's all you really need for, whip on Sega Bass Fishing or something stupid, and you will be winning. So yeah, but that's and as you say, that they had a lot of it on there. Capcom, as I said earlier, they loved it. The ease of porting their games, Power Stone, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Cannon Spike. Western publishers, not so much. They had memories of the Saturn being a complete failure, and Sony were being real dickheads, like really shitty and sneaky, getting in their ears, telling everybody, the PS2 is going to be way better than that, lads. Just hold on, just bide your time, and we'll come out with something way better. And the developers were wary of Sega's ability to support the system with marketing and promotion because they were broke, more so than the quality of it. So it was clearly a good machine, at the time, cutting edge. But Sony's undermining that by saying theirs is going to be better, and everybody kind of knows that Sega's not really long for the world. So they were on a hiding to none. They were struggling really with that. And with the console flagging, Okawa, who we talked about earlier, who put like all of his personal money into the Dreamcast itself, he also donated nearly $700 million in Sega stock back to Sega. He did this right apparently because he hated Sony so much, like he wanted to die, because this was on his deathbed. One of his last acts before he died of cancer, he forgave all of Sega's debts to him. So he just gave him all of his money because he just wanted them to keep going because he hated Sony. 6,000 people apparently attended his memorial service, although Bernie Stoller is on record doesn't like him. And he was so desperate for Sega to succeed, this poor bastard. Not poor, obviously. And he even tried to talk to Microsoft about having the Xbox be able to be backwards compatible or sideways compatible with Dreamcast, which of course did not happen.
That would have been wild.
It would have been wild. They ended up just basically making like loads of ports and loads of the next games on Xbox anyway.
I guess it also fulfilled a need for Xbox that they've never really quite reconciled, in that obviously the Xbox has never been popular in Japan, but they seem to periodically go courting for sort of Japanese style games, don't they? And this is maybe the first stint of that.
Yeah, definitely it was. Yeah, 100%. So the end. Xbox entering the market basically spelled the end for the Dreamcast. After the PS2 had launched in Japan.
The end? Is that not a Metal Gear Solid, boss?
Oh yeah, but the best one probably. After the PS2 launched in Japan, Kmart in the United States just stopped stocking the Dreamcast completely. That was more than a month before the PS2's US launch. They just gave up on it. After Stoller was fired, the new Sega of America president, good old Michael Moore, alongside Charles Belfield, they went to Sega of Japan and presented them with this thing called the Manifesto of the Future. So Peter Moore knew that Sega were in really bad financial trouble. He knew the PS2 was going to kick their ass, and he apparently urged his Japanese bosses to embrace their ability as a software producer and leave the hardware market. And according to Charles Belfield, that prompted every single one of the Japanese executives in the room to get up and leave in disgust. Although they were going to do it again anyway, because within less than 3 months of the PS2 launch, on the 23rd of January 2001, there was some rumors in a Japanese, the largest financial newspaper in the world, the Nihon Keizai Shimbun, reported that Sega was going to follow Moore's advice and transition to a third-party developer, ceasing production of the Dreamcast in March 2001. And for a day, Sega denied it. Charles Belfield himself apparently told IGN at the time that the story was a result of it being a very slow news day and people are very bored. And then the next day, Sega of Japan issued a press release on their own website saying, yeah, that was right, actually. We are having and I quote, structural reformation of Dreamcast manufacturing, sales and distribution. A structural reformation of Dreamcast manufacturing, sales and distribution was being planned. And they were currently in negotiations to supply software for PS2 and GBA. And then a week later...
It's a bit funny, I find that, because like, what a humbling thing to go through, I guess it must have been, to sort of admit defeat and give up being a manufacturer and just become a publisher. But also, with the benefit of hindsight, like, absolutely the correct decision, because Sega's gone through some turmoil and ups and downs over the years, but right now, as of 2026, it's in a fairly decent position, I would say.
Yeah.
It's sort of healthier than it's been in a long time. Plenty of good games coming out. They're investing in trying to bring back some of their old IP. Let's see how successful they are with that. But
and they own Angry Birds now, don't they, and all that kind of stuff. So
and even start with the sort of their forays into the PC market, like. For whatever people think about it, Football Manager is published by Sega, and it is absolutely colossal. Like, it must make a lot of money for them.
From that year, they didn't come out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably kept them hanging on for a while as well. That Sports Interactive element of it.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is...
Yeah, you do need a cash cow, right?
You need a cash cow so that you can sort of mess about with the other stuff. I guess the problem that other companies have got now is that they've become so blinkered that they've just sort of focused on the cash cow, so that when that dries up, they ain't got nothing.
Yeah, very, very true. Yeah, the last part I had was that, on the 31st of January, a week after all of this denial and then immediate reneging on the denial, Sega announced it was officially going third party and was so desperate to get rid of its Dreamcast inventory that it reduced the price of it to $99.85.
Can I also say as well,
officially discontinued on the 31st of March 2001. 25 years ago.
It's something we will never, ever experience again, given the way that sort of video games have gone. But what a time that must have been to be a video game fan, to just like walk into stores and they were basically like almost giving away Dreamcast and games. Like, you could have absolutely cleaned up. I'd have been such a, obviously melancholic and a shame for everyone involved, but as just like being a raw consumer of video game merchandise,
I was going to say, apart from the people getting cheap shit,
you'd be like, oh my god, we would have loved that.
Yeah, and the Dreamcast, probably its biggest like lifeline that it was thrown in terms of boosting its sales potential in its very, very short lifespan, was when people realized how easy it was to pirate games on it, and people just started buying Dreamcast again because it was so easy just to pirate all the games. Unfortunately, they were selling it for fuck all by that point. So you
make a profit.
We briefly discussed this. I think it was probably last night while we were playing Earth Defense Force 5 or whatever the hell we were playing. What's your history with the Dreamcast?
Really, I guess probably indicative of what ended up happening to it. Not a lot, to be honest. I was always the sort of kid on the other side. So I remember growing up, Tony, famous on this podcast for his Wii porn. Um, he was always a Sega kid, so he had a Mega Drive, and then he had a Saturn briefly, and then he had a Dreamcast. He was always the Sega boy. Before he eventually made the switch to PlayStation after the Dreamcast went away. And because of that, I was always the sort of Nintendo kid. I did start off with like a Master System, but I was through no fault of my own. That was my dad. I remember him bought that, and then he quickly lost interest in it, and that was sort of where I became hooked on video games. But yeah, I always had the
And
Nintendo.
that's the origins of you liking the jungle level on Sonic on the Master System began.
Exactly. Yeah, so I always had like Super. I think I had an NES briefly, Super Nintendo, N64. Then I switched to PlayStation. So yeah,
Did you and Tony ever swap consoles when you were growing up?
no, we would just sort of.
No?
I used to go round to his house for tea every week while we were in primary school. And yeah, so I would just go round, and so like every Tuesday was my night with the Dreamcast while it was a thing. So
And what did you say? He wouldn't let you play Shenmue because you'd fuck up his save
Yeah,
for
he
him.
said you
wasn't
could only have one save, and he wouldn't let me play it. So I used to just watch him
think
play.
that was true.
I think he was probably lying to me. He did have a track record of that. I think he just didn't want me to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would just sort of sit and watch him do forklifts or something on Shenmue while I was a kid. So yeah,
The
it
only
was
thing
whatever-
more
whatever
boring
game
than
he
playing
had.
Shenmue is watching someone play it.
And he was the only person I knew that had a Dreamcast. So every Tuesday night would be my Dreamcast night. So we'd just go around and probably just swap the controller playing Toy Commander a lot, which is probably where my sort of let's say nostalgia for that game rather than fondness these days
Yeah.
comes from.
I was kind of sort of like you. I knew one guy. Basically all my friends, except my friend Chris, who was a PlayStation guy, who got me into Resident Evil, and we played all the Resident Evils together. Basically every other one of my friends was a Nintendo person. We all had N64s. We were all obsessed with that. So when one of my this kid came to that we sort of started to become friends with in in secondary school anyway, he had this totally what did you ever have any friends like this, right? This guy is actually gonna get a feature in Sega Mania, because I'm writing about how I first ever discovered Buster Move, which was at his house as well, and I couldn't believe that's the game they were playing. But this kid was like, he lived out in this place called Kimbolton, which is like out in the sticks in St. Neots. He never obviously then came on the walk to school because his mum had to drive him in because he lived fucking miles away. Very kind of rurally area. Mum was single parent. Like instead of like spending his weekends like watching football or wrestling, right? These dudes would be like driving dirt buggies and trespassing on farmers' fields, playing ultimate frisbee in the dark and shit, like, you know, setting fire to stuff. Like it was like this kind of boisterous utopia where you go to his house for a sleepover and his poor mum just fucking let anything go. Like she did not give a shit. One of the weirdest times I ever had around that house was we were all going to Alton Towers together. So we all stayed at this kid's house. And one of them, I can't even remember what we were doing, but we were running around in a field somewhere or climbing a tree, and he broke his collarbone.
Oh my God.
And this kid's mum had to bath him. Like a teenager, she had to put him in the bath to like wash his wound or something. And we could just hear him crying while Sam's mum was bathing him. And we were like, can't wait to go to Alton Towers tomorrow. I don't think Jack's going to be coming, though. And he didn't. He had to go home.
No, yeah, you can't.
Fucking
you can't
wild.
Be going on Nemesis with a broken collarbone.
No, sir. So he had a Dreamcast because I guess his mum was just going to spoil him because, you know, again, just anything for his love.
Keeps him out of trees, I guess.
Yeah. And oh, mate, I couldn't believe that shit. Like, I had never seen anything look that good. And I became a complete cunt to my parents, being like, I want a Dreamcast so badly. Take my N64, get it the fuck out of my sight. This paltry GoldenEye shit. Get me this shiny new Dreamcast so I can play Sega Rally Championship 2 and Sonic Adventure. And my dad was like, you're going to regret that, mate. You don't want this. And I was like, I want a Dreamcast! Give me a Dreamcast,
Man
Dad!
ahead of his time.
got me a Dreamcast, got me Sonic Adventure. It's not very good, is it? And I played that and Sega Rally, which has like 4 tracks, and I was like, Dad, can I have an N64 again, please?
He's like, I knew it.
He's like, you bellend. So I traded my Dreamcast back in, got an N64 again, and my dad got me this like kick-ass deal where I got like, oh, he got me so many games. I think he ended up saying like, I got you so many games in this bundle, negotiating with the guy in the shop, that I basically ended up paying £2 for the console. If you look at the price of the games you've got with it. I did eventually buy a Dreamcast again later on, out of my own money, and that's probably more when I played some of the games that were like the best versions of games. You're talking your Resident Evils and stuff like that. Shadow Man, another one that I loved on the Dreamcast, the best version of that game as well. But yeah, that was my history of it.
I wonder if all video game nerds have got a story of just like endlessly trading in consoles, because I think I had about
that was definitely
PlayStations me. Because I kept trading one in to get an N64 and then trading that in to get a play. I just kept swapping.
I'm glad it's not just me then.
No, yeah,
just so fickle.
Yeah. I don't want this anymore. I want it back.
It's just like, I really want to play GoldenEye. Oh, why did I get rid of that? That was so dumb. I think what I actually did was then I like traded in loads of games to get a Dreamcast back. So then I kind of like had both, but severely limited N64 library, which of course at university I used my maintenance loan to pop the top back up again. Let's talk about our top 5 Dreamcast games.
Yes,
you know what? Let's have a little break. Do you need a break?
Yeah.
I don't need a break, but I'm going to put a break of some Dreamcast music in here for the listener, and then we'll do our top 5 games in part 2.
Yeah, I'll go make another hot drink.
Yeah, you know what? I will too.
Let's go.
Yes, welcome back. Right, David, give us your top five. Let's give us number 5 in your Dreamcast.
Okay, I've
Top
got a
5.
few honourable mentions, but we'll wait and see if they get mopped up by you. I suspect most of them won't. My number 5 game, I've gone for Virtua Tennis 2. I just think
Okay,
it's
well,
still. Oh, carry
I had
on.
Virtua Tennis 1
Okay.
in as my number 4, but yeah, same beef, different gravy in it. Go on.
I just think Virtua Tennis remains an amazing series, and yeah, the Virtua Tennis games, whichever on the Dreamcast, are still amongst the most fun arcade gameplay that I think is around in sports games, and they're still amongst the best sports games, tennis games. Full stop. For me,
I agree. I sorely miss them. They
yeah,
doesn't exist anymore. I've
they
tried
did a
that.
couple years ago. How is it? Have you played that one?
No, that was Topspin.
Or was it Topspin?
Yeah, and I did not like it at all. I went back to the reason for having let me start all of that again. That was just garbled nonsense. The disliking of Topspin, whatever it was, made me go out and buy Virtua Tennis 4, I think, on the PS Vita.
Oh,
Cracker.
nice.
What a banger. But yeah, did we play that? Did we play Virtua Tennis in Glasgow?
Yes, we did. Yes.
I think you kicked my ass, if I remember
Virtual
rightly.
Tennis. Yes, we did play that. And the NHL 2K, one of those.
Yeah, which is also fantastic. That's in my honorable mentions. Any of the NHL 2K games on Dreamcast are superb. They are a lot more sim than the EA ones from the time, because I remember you and I, when we did our PS2 launch rankings, NHL 2001.
Yeah, be around that. Yeah.
We loved it. So, yeah, these ones are a bit tougher than that. But I don't know. You probably do not feel this way. In fact, I can almost guarantee you don't feel this way. But there's something weird about me where when I play Virtua Tennis, I can't not be Tim Henman.
You just like being Tim Henman.
I don't even like Tim Henman. And then I always try and play serve and volley because I feel like that's what he would want. But I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a weird thing. I'll always default to Scottish, British, European in that order when I'm playing a sports game, if there's a sports game going. So if I was playing a tennis game, I would sort of default to Andy Murray. But so during that era, yeah, I would have been defaulting to Tim Henman.
Always the bridesmaid, eh?
Yeah.
Except when it comes to Virtua Tennis, because we'll have you back there, Timmy boy.
Yeah, we do. We've got you, mate.
A sorely missed series, probably at its most pure on Dreamcast.
Yeah,
Virtua Tennis 3 I still enjoyed very much on the 360. There was a mini game in that where you had to hit a giant tennis ball against something. I think it was bowling pins. Brilliant.
Yes.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to say it a lot, or I haven't really said it a lot, but like for the Dreamcast for me, and you'll see. Well, this list for me is probably quite interesting because it's simultaneously like remembering my interactions with the Dreamcast during that time, being quite vague, or at least sort of childlike, childlike in a tertiary manner. I.e., I was happy playing any game and sort of games that come across, and I would sort of find the enjoyment in them because I was a kid and I didn't know any better, and also mixed in with games that have sort of come back later in life to appreciate. But yeah in my mind, the Dreamcast for me is just a really top level sort of arcade machine, and those are the games that for me have aged the best for the reasons that you spoke about. And that when we went to that video game cafe in Glasgow, playing the Dreamcast, sports games and arcade games are still some of the best fun that we had in that place. And I think that's true today. Those games are the ones that have aged the best.
Yeah, and that speaks to just how tight it feels to play Virtua Tennis. And it's so uncomplicated.
Yep.
That's the thing with Topspin that I don't like. It's it's not as generous, I suppose, with how you play shots and things. It's it's a lot more simmy. Whereas I find that Virtua Tennis is just so easy to pick up and play. You can basically just press the A button over and over again.
Simplicity to the virtual tennis games that I think I just really appreciate. They're not complicated. They're simple to pick up and play, but they're also not sort of patronizing to the game in the way that, like, I don't know, like I love this game, so I don't mean to have a go at it in a game that like something like Mario Kart would be with like rubber banding and things like that.
Yeah,
It's sort of forgiving, but also makes room for a skill ceiling that I it's quite unique actually.
yeah, definitely. Speaking of skill ceiling, my number 5 is a ceiling I will never ever touch. Even though I think the game is a masterpiece, my number 5 is Ikaruga.
Ikaruga.
Mm.
I don't think I've ever played Ikaruga.
Did we not play that in somewhere in an arcade together, or did we just play Radiant Silvergun? Maybe it was just Radiant
One of
Silvergun.
those games. Perhaps we've played it. At some point, my brain melts when I play this Bullet Hell. So
This especially is one of the most brain melting ones of all.
we might have played this in an arcade. In fact, I'd be surprised if we hadn't, to be honest.
I feel like we played Radiant Silvergun and then we beat it, and then we tried this for a few minutes and we're like, let's go do something else because our eyes have melted.
Was it Leeds that had a sort of dedicated room to Japanese arcade machines? And
yeah, that's the one.
There. Yeah,
it was in there. Yeah. So, I mean, most people are going to know what the Ikaruga is. It's been ported so many times as well. I think I own it on many different consoles at this point. I think I've definitely got it on 360 and Dreamcast. Not Dreamcast, don't be silly, it's expensive. 360 and Switch. The best thing about the treasure shmups that they made for Sega machines, so Radiant Silvergun, which I do prefer to Ikaruga, pretty much because I can actually finish that game. Ikaruga, they all have like a gimmick to them, and Ikaruga, as far as I can tell, was one of the first ones to create this, like, you basically have a color, for want of a better phrase, of bullets that you shoot. It's either white or black. And if you are shooting white bullets out, any enemy that comes along that is colored black will take extra damage versus the ones that are white will take the same amount. You will absorb white bullets, but you will take more damage from black, and vice versa. So it becomes like a game of swapping your ship's color around to either absorb bullets or do more damage. And some of the puzzles that they throw in there, that's another great thing about treasure shooters, is they make them not just going up and shooting stuff. There's a lot of like actual maneuvering to do and getting out of the way of obstacles and stuff. But this game is absolutely fucking nails. Like, it's so difficult. This is why it's only going to stay at number 5, because although I think it is one of the greatest and most unique and groundbreaking shmups ever made, it's just so difficult.
Yeah.
But it just pipped out Power Stone 2 for me for that reason. What's your number 4?
Again, like, I'll just link you back to what
Power
I said.
Stone 2.
Yeah.
No,
I'll link you back to what I said before about when I came and my experience. Sega Rally Championship 2, I've gone for at number 4. During that era, I had like a massive love for rally games, and
yeah,
I remember I used to play a lot of Colin McRae 1 and 2, and then when I'd go round to Tony's house on a Tuesday, that would get switched out for Sega Rally. Now, like I say, I understand that, like, it, from what I can tell, looking at it previously, looking at the research in the run up to this podcast, and that it was obviously an arcade port. And it's a controversial one because apparently it's got an uncapped frame rate, so it mostly runs at 30, but there are stages that it does jump up to 60. But because of that inconsistent frame rate, it's sort of people tend not to like it. But I would just refer you, 2 reasons. Refer you back to, one, I was a child and didn't notice, and 2,
me too.
And 2, I've since played it on Redream, which I fully expect is just 60 FPS. Because I played it and was like, oh yes, this is every bit as good as I remember.
Yeah, I still enjoy it.
Yeah, so for that reasons, I had a great time with it. Like it's arcadey, but that's exactly what it's supposed to be. I think it looks good, and in terms of like,
yeah, me too.
Like, if I'm comparing to the Colin McRae games, which I was obviously sort of probably playing about the same time, not that Colin McRae is realistic, but in my childhood
on PlayStation,
mind, yes. Colin McRae was very much sort of emulating the rally experience. It was trying to do like a proper rally stage, i.e., you were racing against other people doing their times and things like that. the experience I had with Sega Rally Championship 2 was more sort of one of just like color. Everything was bigger, everything was brighter, everything sort of skidded around the track more. It was just a sort of I don't know, just a nice sort of tonic to the what I saw at that time, a more serious Colin McRae game.
Yeah, agreed.
And it's just
Goes,
it's still a good time. It's got a surprising amount of depth to it. They've added a lot to it. It feels like a console game rather than a straight arcade port, I think, in many ways, because of the additional modes and things like that.
yeah, it speaks to the same things we were saying about virtual tennis, and that
It's just fun.
It's just like at its purest form, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just the art of going fast around corners and going over jumps and stuff with a cool soundtrack and cool looking cars. Yeah, I've got a lot of fondness for Sega Rally Championship 2 as well, even though it's not the most liked port out there. But this was one of the things that I saw on my friend's Dreamcast and was just, I couldn't believe it. It looked so good compared to like, you know, the blocky polygonal stuff that you were seeing on PlayStation and N64. It's just blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my number 4 was Virtua Tennis. So what's your number 3?
Oh, okay, we've done that. So I've cheated slightly with my number 3, but I think you'll probably understand why. I've gone for a combination of the sort of what I would put in quotation marks the Resident Evil ports, so Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, and then I've also looped in Dino Crisis with that as well.
I don't. Did they port Resi 1?
Yes, they did apparently, and it came out and it was 20 quid when it came out.
Really?
Yes. Unless
I've never
YouTube
seen the
videos
Dreamcast version.
I was watching was wrong, which it might be because it's YouTube. But yeah, they were showing side by side comparisons, which sort of confirmed what I was thinking and why I wanted to put the games in my list. They're just much nicer to look at.
Yeah, I don't think it had Resi 1, but yes, Resi 2, 3, and Dino Crisis were the best versions of those games.
Yeah, they just looked like the best versions of those
in
games.
My opinion.
They're so much nicer. Like they were showing side by side comparisons, and they're just lovely. Again, like I'm slightly wasted. I think I said this to you today by text that my introduction to Resident Evil 3 was the 4K texture pack, and we played it on PC. So obviously that's the definitive way to play it. But if you're talking about like equivalents, i.e., like the PlayStation versus the Dreamcast version of this game, the Dreamcast is always going to be the best version.
Yeah, and I was sort of briefly introduced to Resident Evil on the PlayStation by my friend Chris, as I said earlier. But when it came to actually getting Resident Evil games, I had a Dreamcast. I didn't have a PlayStation, so I went out and my first experiences of Resident Evil were 2 and 3 and Code Veronica on the Dreamcast, and they were so much better. They just sharper, ran better. Had the VMU, so you could look at your caution or your fine or whatever on the little screen. Absolutely brilliant. I must have worn those discs out the amount of times I've played 2 and 3 on the Dreamcast. Super. I mean, everybody knows how much we love those games anyway. So I didn't include those in my list because I just wanted to kind of recognize them as like these are the best versions on console that you could get. But if I was doing like an objective top 5 Dreamcast list that I didn't just put like exclusives or whatever, then yeah, they would be obviously right near the top.
Yeah.
My number 3, I think, is in your list as well. It's Soul Calibur. I guess it's higher for you.
It's not on my list, no.
Oh, you mentioned it earlier. I thought it was going to be
mentions. Yeah, it was originally in my initial sort of pass to the top 5, but yeah, it lost out to Virtua Tennis for me. But yeah, it's I'll let you speak about it. It's your selection.
No, you go for it.
Yeah, I don't have you'll have more to say about it than me, but initially it was just one of the few games. Obviously, I've sort of been converted to fighting games over the last 6 months to a year, and this was one of the fighting games that sort of penetrated my brain before I got into fighting games. It's just a really great fighting game and a really good port as far as I'm aware.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's still rated number 2 in Metacritic's top 100 best games of all time, or not just 100. Sorry, just Metacritic's top games ever. It's number 2 with a 98. It's just a phenomenal fighting game. One that really like just sits in the sweetest of the spots of easy to pick up and play, but with loads of added depth to it if you want to master it. That is exactly the kind of fighting game that's gonna pull me in these days. Like one that's not too convoluted, not too complicated. I think even Soul Calibur, I bought Soul Calibur 3 for the PS2 in the last year, and the tutorial took me like half an hour, and I thought like that's not what I want.
No,
you've added too much shit. So yeah, Soul Calibur 1 and 2 as well. I love 2. I loved that on the GameCube because it had Link in it. Played a lot of that with my friends, but we also played a lot of Soul Calibur 1 because, as you say, like again, it just looks incredible.
Yeah, it did.
It's so smooth to play, and like the characters have got big bastard swords or nunchucks or something, or tits. So it's really, this is what makes that game so enjoyable to play. Is just every character does feel like really quite different. There'll be big, slow characters with bigger swords, faster characters who are smaller and more nimble with like nunchucks and things and daggers. Like there's so much depth to the character roster in there, and all of them are really fun to play as. And yeah, I mean, it deserves to be maybe not the second best game of all time, but it's definitely it's like one of the flagship, like Dreamcast could seriously boast about having this over everybody else, because especially at the time when you're looking at things like Tekken and all that, like Tekken 3 is a wonderful game, but looking at it on a PlayStation compared to Soul Calibur is no comparison. It just looks like the future. It's amazing.
Yeah, I feel like if you're making a sort of, if you're going around buying consoles and thinking, right, I want to have the sort of definitive list of like, I don't know, like 5 to 10 games on each of these consoles, Soul Calibur's definitely one of those. Has to be.
Yeah. What's your number 2?
Again, a slight cheat. Sort of came to this version of the game because of Redream, but Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and this is the best version of that game. So you're
not wrong.
Yeah. It's just it looked nicer, ran nicer than the PlayStation version. And it's got all that music in it. Yeah,
it certainly does. That one has a 97 on Metacritic. It's I mean, people have heard us talk about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 many, many times before. Again, just I don't actually know. I don't think it was it ported by someone else?
Yeah, it was reported by Treyarch.
Of course it was. Yeah, but they did a wonderful job, because again, it is like that. If you want to play a console version of that game in this country, that's what you want to get. I'd assume if you're in America, you'd get Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. What was it called? 1X or 2X or something?
Oh yes,
the one on the original Xbox that's got 1 and 2 on it. But that didn't come out of the States, so we can't play that version. So for us, yes, it's all about the Dreamcast one. My number 2 is Resident Evil Code Veronica.
Good choice.
Is that not in your top 5?
It is in my top 5, yes.
Oh, it is? Is it your number 1?
It's my number 1, yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about Resi and then we'll do my number 1.
Yeah, I broke it out from the Resi 2, 3 and Dino Crisis, because it launched as an exclusive, didn't it? And then eventually came to Xbox under Code Veronica X, is that correct?
I think it was PS2 and GameCube.
Is that it? Okay, there you go. And yeah, it's a great Resident Evil game. It is, isn't it? And it's nice that you spoke about before that the Capcom showed some support for this console, and sort of gave them their own Resident Evil game. If I'm remembering correctly as well from previous podcasts, it was meant to launch alongside 3. Is that correct, or 2? Must be 3. It was meant, as like a sort of different like shoot off for the Resident Evil franchise. And it took me a long time to properly play this game because I was terrified of. I read that you could play yourself.
I mean, rightly so.
Yeah,
you can.
It wasn't a problem, and it's got. Is it Billy, the old thumbs up guy?
No, that's Zero.
Oh, is it?
This has got. This is Claire and Chris.
Who's the guy?
This has got Alfred Ashford in it.
Who's the guy that when you
start
in the first area when you're walking around, he tries to shoot you with a machine gun?
Steve.
That's.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Steve Burnside. He is an absolute legend. We'll have no bad words said about him on this podcast. Yeah, I think this was did we on that podcast that we did? So go check that out if you want to hear more about it. It was like almost like an apology, wasn't it, to Sega because they didn't get Resident Evil 2. They had to cancel the port for the Saturn because the Saturn was fucked. So yeah, this was kind of like a make good from there. And again, you know, looking at the other games that have come out, I mean, this was the first one I think was the first one to not have pre-rendered backgrounds in it.
I think you're right.
You know, fully 3D and just again like really push the series up another notch. Until they had to go to, to 4 to do it again.
I mean, bearing in mind, as we spoke about, like, both of us went down the rabbit hole of, like, perpetually wanting the console that we didn't have. I just remember, like, going around to Tony's house and, like, the Dreamcast, and this one especially, because of the dropped pre-rendered backgrounds, it just felt like a next level / step up from the other games I was playing, because it was sort of, it just felt different.
Yeah, I actually think Dino Crisis was the first one without pre-rendered backgrounds, but it's the first core Resident Evil. But yeah, yeah, my number one, which you haven't played, and I imagine you probably never will, which is a shame because it's fantastic. It's one of my favorite JRPGs of all time. Yeah, I tried to play Blue Stinger for the honourable mentions, and I just did not think it was very good. I really wanted to like that because it's like a stupid like action and horror-y thing. It's just very clearly a launch title from a developer I can't even remember, so they're clearly not a big cheese. It's just rough to play that game. My number one is Skies of Arcadia.
I keep wanting to play Skies of Arcadia again, Tony.
This is the only one, mate.
Is that the only one?
Yeah, they've never had another one.
And if they had re-releases then, because I've got like a memory of...
Yeah, it came out on the GameCube as Skies of Arcadia Legends, which tidied up. The Dreamcast one has, to be fair, some quite egregious random battle kind of frequency. And annoyingly as well, the Dreamcast version, it like kind of... certainly for me anyway, the disc makes a noise every time you're about to get into a random battle. It'll go like it almost like flick the laser will do it. It's like it's just like a precursor to it happening.
Are there spiritual successors that have come out in more modern consoles? Because there's a game. Okay, I'll shut my face until I remember what it is. But there's a game that had flying ships in it that again Tony was playing, I think, on Steam for a while.
That was on PS2. That one does. I think that has flying ships in it. That's going to do my head in now. What that one's called? Because I actually have that on my PS5. Because it's been ported to PS4, and so therefore it's backwards compatible.
Google AI
can't remember what it's called.
Xenoblade Chronicles? Could that be?
No. JRPG.
There's a YouTube video I'm about to watch after this podcast called Top 10 JRPG Airships. So that's
Rogue Galaxy. That's what it is.
That'll be it.
Where you pilot a starship. That's by level 5.
Excellent. Yeah. There is going to be a day where I will fall down a JRPG rabbit hole, because
I would love for you to play this. I would love it.
JRPG games that I want to have at least sort of played. And there's ones that I have sort of dipped my toe into over the years that I've really enjoyed, and some of them I don't think people have got particularly fond memories of. So if I'm liking those, then perhaps I do have it in me to like a JRPG. It's just a big commitment. The one that jumps to mind as we're talking about that is it was an Xbox 360 JRPG about a boy who was in a coma, and you just sort of Xbox 3.
It's not Eternal Sonata, is it?
Yeah, that's the one. I played about
where it's all in the
5, 6, 7
like you're in the world of Mozart's songs or something.
That's it. And I really enjoyed what I played of that.
Yeah. That's supposed to be quite well revered, I believe. I think Skies of Arcadia is well revered. Clearly not by Sega.
Well,
I mean,
and what was the one I played last year after Doncaster? It's a PlayStation JRPG.
Oh, the strategy one,
Yeah,
Vandal Hearts.
yeah, that's another one. I had a bloody lovely time with that game.
Yeah, that's excellent. Skies of Arcadia, I actually played first of all on a demo disc that I got with the Dreamcast magazine, and I'd never played a JRPG before, and I probably didn't even know that's what I was actually playing, but I just fell in love with it, and I had to get a copy of it. I actually did own the GameCube version and sold it when I was at uni because I was broke, which is a shame because that's worth loads of money now.
What's the gameplay loop? Is like the when you're in the ship, is that like an overworld, or is a lot of the gameplay in the ship?
Yes. So you fly around. It's like a mix of Wind Waker and Skyward Sword in that you're going around on a ship to different islands, but it's in the sky. So that you'll go around to like loads of massive areas with like they're effectively dungeons and all this kind of old villages and then dungeons and things like that. With your crew, which kind of expands, and some people leave and come back, and as they do. And so you'll have all of those. I'll have the magic abilities and all that kind of stuff that you would have with JRPGs, but you also then have ship battles as well, and they feel really epic when you're playing them. They take quite a long time to get through as well. It's all about like waiting for your turn and loading up your cannons and building it up to like this super cannon that you've got on the front of your ship. But you also use the flying ship for like traversal to get to the different islands as well. It's quite a long game, and it will probably feel quite not primitive because it's got a lot of cool systems in it. It's very much like a classic style JRPG. There's not an overly convoluted style to any of it other than like the ship battles. But it's very quaint is how I would put it. Like the characters are very kind of not childlike, but you know what I mean. Charming and silly and
probably quite two-dimensional.
Yeah. It's got it's a bit tropey.
Yeah,
but as a younger player, like I really enjoyed like the characters. I mean, it took me so long to beat this game. I think I had to buy it again on the Dreamcast and then actually like sit and plow through it using a guide and all this kind of stuff. So it took me a good long while to beat the game, but I'm so glad that I played through it because it's still one of my favorite JRPGs ever. It's like right up there probably in my top 3 with like Chrono Trigger and I don't know, Yakuza 7. I don't know, but it's a wonderful game. And I wish that Sega gave more of a shit about it. First of all, I wish that they would let Nintendo bring the GameCube one to the Switch 2 online thing. That'd be great to have this on a handheld. I'd love that. And they need to just stop like doing crappy little teases for it every 5 or 10 years and either make one or just stop. Because they did...
Did Dreamcast games work on the Retroid? Did we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's maybe a way to play
Well,
it.
GameCube games work on the Retroid, so you want to be playing that version, the GameCube version, because it's like streamlined and whatnot. But they had like the main character Vice and I think her name's Aika. They were both in Valkyria Chronicles 1 as characters, not really characters that actually did anything. They didn't have any voice lines or stories, but you could see that's who they were. And then Vice himself was in Sonic and All Stars Racing Transformed a couple of years, well, however many years ago that is now. It's going to be like 10 years ago, isn't it? He was in there as a character. He had his own stage and everything, and people got really excited thinking they were going to revive Skies of Arcadia. They just aren't gonna. I think they don't have the money or the time to care to do it. Mm-hmm. So just a quick word for those who are wondering. Shenmue is not in my top 5 because even though when I got the game, like this was the most incredible thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. I was telling people to come and look at it. Yeah. I mean, it was the most expensive game ever. It bloody well should have been. I played it when I was a kid. For some reason, I loved it. And I think in its favor, it has like a really brilliant world where it has created this real authentic slice of Japanese life in the 80s in this little rural town. Like that feels great and it feels lived in and it feels really cool. And some of the cutscenes in it are really good as well. Like epic, great music, great like fight choreography. But oh my goodness, is this the most boring game in the world? It is just walking to places. You don't even have a map screen you can open, so you have to look at shop signs or signs in the street or ask people where to go, and they still won't tell you. And all you're going to do is just ask someone where to go to that place, ask the person the question, and they'll tell you to go ask somebody else. And then that's all the game is for at least where I'm up to anyway. I have had one fight, and I must have played it for about 3 or 4 hours yesterday to prep for this. And I've had one fight and one QTE in a bar when I was asking for sailors to have sex with or something.
It's funny.
You're playing a game, walking around asking people in the town where sailors hang out for at least an hour.
Just like a Saturday night in St. Neots.
Yeah, except you can't go and ask straight away because the bar doesn't open till the night time, so you have to stand still and look at a clock. So I just went and played a different game and left it running until it was ready for me to go in a bar and ask where the sailors are. Oh, what a shame.
It's funny. I've never played that. I've never played Shenmue, and I never will. But my
we almost did for this pod, but you're lucky that I said let's just not bother. I can't be asked.
But I've actually watched an entire playthrough of the game, which is funny. Because that seems like an even more boring way to play that game. Just watch someone else play it. And yeah,
at least you could do something else, though. You could, you could kill the time.
And yeah, I think for all it's perhaps not a fun game anymore. I do think it deserves its props for being sort of like as a child. I think I certainly did, and my friends all did. I'm sure like it was probably quite common in friendship groups to have this like discussion about imagine if they made a game where it was just like real life. And and it was just like this childlike fantasy, and it was like, and then Shenmue comes out, and it's like, oh my god, they've done it, they've actually done it.
I don't know why we wanted that, because surely we wanted to escape from real life. But yeah, turns out it's not that cool if you can open every drawer in a room. If you have to go home by 11, or your housekeeper has a go at you, and you have to wait for the bus to go to your job as the actual mechanic. It did,
and it was truly like unlike anything else that was on in video games at that point. So I think it deserves props for that, even if it's sort of the reality of it is less sort of compelling than the idea.
100%, yeah. And for some reason, all the voice lines sound like they were recorded in a bin, and I don't get it. even on the one I played on my PS5, the HD version, the voice quality in that game is, I don't even understand it. It's like they phoned it through. They like talked into a PC microphone or did it over a phone. Literally phoned it in. Terrible. And obviously the voice acting is laughably awful, but after a while I've not got the time for that. I'm not laughing anymore.
The thing, I think it's the first one. It just ends on a massive cliffhanger.
Yeah, it does.
It's so unacceptable.
You finally find where Landy is, the guy who killed your father, and now you must die. And off you get on a thing to go after him. And then the entirety of the second game happens, and you still haven't got him. And then the third game comes out, and you still haven't got him. And they're never going to make 4, 5, and 6 or whatever it was that Yu Suzuki reckons he's going to do, because 3 was so bad. Unacceptable
behavior.
So yeah, right. Honourable mentions. What do you got? Should we just say all the NBA, NHL ones are great?
The 2K Sports franchises.
Yeah,
I think all of them are good. NFL, NBA, NHL, all excellent. Hydro Thunder. I had quite a lot of fun with that. To me, it was just like.
Oh yeah, I need to play that actually.
It was like sort of Wipeout in water rather than floating spaceships.
The sequel to which, of course, was on the original Xbox. I think it's Arctic Thunder, right? Is that right?
Yes. There is a something Thunder. Oh yeah, you're right, because it was a Summer of Arcade game. Oh
no, that's 360. I think Hydro Thunder actually came out on 360. Did it?
There was a Summer of Arcade.
This game is part of Midway's Thunder series of racing games, which includes Off-Road Thunder, Four-Wheel Thunder, Arctic Thunder, which was that was that was Midway's final arcade title. Apparently, it was ported to PS2 and Xbox. Hydro Thunder Hurricane, that's the one you're thinking of.
That's it. On
Xbox Live Arcade. And a sequel to Hydro Thunder. Yeah.
I've got a nostalgia.
Yeah, that's the sequel that was released on 360.
People coming out with like themed, like the Actua series. I just like, I'm quite nostalgic for that. They'll probably never do that sort of thing again, but I like that. Power Stone 2. Did we
Yeah,
mention
Power Stone
that?
2 is
Yeah.
awesome. That's the one that just missed out on my top 5. You and I have played that. Despite the fact I own this game and have done since I have bought my Dreamcasts, David kicks my ass every time at this game. I just suck at it apparently, but it's coming out in a roughly same era as Smash Bros, maybe just before.
Yeah.
I can't remember,
To me,
but it definitely has that feel to it.
it's sort of
Except
like,
you don't know who any of the characters are.
yeah, it bridges the gap between being like a Smash Brothers game and being like, I have got, again, like massively fond memories for the party games that are like Fusion Frenzy and things like that. It sort of seems to
Yeah.
split the, I don't know, what's the word? Split the needle? That's not a word. Threads the needle, maybe, between, those two types of games. Big fan. I have to mention Toy Commander. I absolutely adored that game for a kid, and then Alex's Sega Mania magazine had me going back to replay it, and I realized, oh, this sucks. But as a child, I had a great time with it. Do you know what? It's not a bad game, and it's not a bad idea. The problem is that it just becomes brutally difficult out of nowhere, and it bridges the gap. Given what you were talking about with the controller earlier on, it bridges the gap between sort of old and modern games in that it's a 3D game with a single joystick, and it just makes it difficult to look around. Like it asks you to like drop eggs in precision places, and it just doesn't offer the control scheme to allow you to do that properly.
A lot of games like that on the Dreamcast were making you use the left and right analog triggers, weren't they, to spin your camera around?
Yeah, and this one sort of it'll like switch your camera when you need to do stuff, but it just would do it out of nowhere. And I just found that difficult to know what was going on. You'd be getting chased by things, and you'd be driving a car and unable to like move the camera about. And I just found that ultimately deeply frustrating. But when that game was good, i.e., when I was a kid, nothing like it. And we've got to mention Jet Set Radio. We can't just do a Dreamcast podcast and not talk about it.
No, if we're talking about those kinds of Dreamcast games, then Crazy Taxi is the one all the way. Jet Set Radio, I tried to play that yesterday.
Crazy Taxi.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I wrote in my notes here that I still like this game. In fact, I think I've got more of an appreciation for Crazy Taxi now than I did when it was out. I very much enjoy that game now more than I did back in the day.
Well, I think that was again kind of part of what was a problem with having a machine that's got a load of great arcade ports on them that you're charging full price for to play at home, is that they finish in an hour, and then you just do it again. No, I don't. Jet Set Radio though, what I didn't realize, like I'd never really played it before, and I played it yesterday I played it yesterday while I was waiting for the time to pass in Shenmue, and I didn't realize there was a policeman who shoots you, or policemen that come and just like swarm you and carry you off.
Rollerblades.
What a horrible mechanic! I thought it was more just going to be like a Tony Hawk, where I'm just like freestyling and tagging and doing tricks, but there's no trick button. You just jump, and he just does it himself. And they jump. They jump like. Remember Mario Land 2 when you're on the moon? Mm-hmm. They jump like that.
I went back and had to play this game for Sega Mania as well.
Sega Force Mega, yeah?
That's the one. Whatever, yeah.
Yeah. It's all the same.
Yeah, something. And again, this is one of the ones that I think the story around it is more interesting than the game itself. The game itself hasn't aged very well, but like when I was doing research for the game and replaying it, there's a lot of talk about the sort of fashion design around the game and how it's all like boiler suity and things like that, and it was sort of indicative of I'm now trying to pull from what I wrote about a long time ago, but basically the lost generation. So it was sort of came out.
Oh yeah,
it came out of like this really difficult economic time for Japan, and then there was a bunch of kids that basically just were missed, never got into the workplace because the older people were not getting promoted at the same way because the economy was such in the toilet, and there's just such high unemployment, and sort of out of that sort of sprouted this sort of punky, rebellious, artistic thing that was sort of Japan's answer to the punk craze of the 70s and 80s in the UK, and it's just a game sort of built around that. from a design perspective. I find that really interesting. It also came up from like these gangs that initially turned into these punks started off being like motorcycle and moped gangs that would go
Yeah,
around causing crime. And yeah, I just find that just a really fascinating sort of link to a game that is ostensibly like cartoony and fun, just
yeah.
having this sort of darker, um, what will it say, sort of source
Like,
material. Yeah,
yes, yeah. No, I mean everything aesthetically about Jet Set Radio
it's
is
fantastic.
great.
Yeah, just
The,
doesn't
the
play very
music's
well.
really cool as well. It's just not very fun.
Yeah, and that's me for my honourable mentions.
Okay, well, for those watching, obviously I held up my fishing rod
Yes, you
earlier
did.
on for Sega bass fishing / Sega marine fishing, whichever one you play. They're both good for a laugh for 15 minutes. There'll be a good no, ignore that. And what else did I have? Choo Choo Rocket, as I mentioned earlier, that I played online. I don't necessarily think it's the best puzzle game ever made. It's not something I would probably want to go back to. They did briefly have like a little mini resurgence when they brought it out on mobile, say 10 years ago, which had like online play. So that was quite fun to kind of relive that. And it does have a kind of more fitting home on a touchscreen portable handheld thing rather than just a full console game. But yeah, Choo Choo Rocket was a major sort of success story for Dreamcast's slightly ill-fated too early to the party online systems. And I just want to double check that I've got the right game here. I'm pretty sure I do. Yes, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Sort of the end of Sega's exclusivity for the long line of like Marvel versus things that they've been doing in tandem with all their Capcom stuff, like X-Men versus Street Fighter, and obviously Marvel versus Capcom. Marvel versus Capcom 2 has probably got the best roster, I think, of all of them, even including the more recent ones. You know, it's got people like Jill Valentine in it and stuff like that, where she can summon zombies and shoot rocket launchers and all that kind of stuff. Just like another really great fighting game that is easy to play and have fun and do flashy things. But if you want to start getting into like air juggling or whatever, then you need actual skill that I don't possess. I think that was kind of all I had for my honorable mentions. I tried to do like a little sort of mini deep dive into some hidden gems.
Oh yeah.
Didn't go very well for a lot of them. So I tried to play Blue Stinger, as we said earlier, which just I wouldn't if I were you. I also played D2 for a bit, which is another like horror game where you are like a survivor of a plane crash in, I think, the Arctic or somewhere snowy anyway, and everybody around you keeps turning into like plant monsters, but it plays like 3 different types of game in one. It's really bizarre. It's like if you go into a building, you just have a first person camera and it's almost like a point and click adventure where you're just moving the camera around different points of interest in the room to pick things up, each of which has its own cutscene for some stupid reason. And then when you're outside, you're in third person running around, but when you go into a fight, it's almost like a light gun game where you just have the enemy on screen and a cursor that you move around to shoot them. It's interesting. It's got 4 discs. The disc 4 of which you need to watch the opening cinematic. It's in the menu. Like you go through, like I'll play the opening cinematic so I can actually see what's happened. Put disc 4 in. Mental. But I might give that one a bit more of a go because that one is quite interesting. That played a lot better than Blue Stinger. Genuine hidden gems. Border Down, I think Japanese exclusive as far as I'm aware, is a really solid shmup, vertical scrolling one, but quite tough. But it has a cool sort of mechanic about you sort of powering up, and then if you get hit, you're going down. The border down part is you like lose power in a different way to what you'd expect. Cannon Spike is like it's quite hard to describe. It's sort of like a top-down multi-directional shooter with Capcom characters in it, like Cammy from Street Fighter and Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins. So it's kind of like sort of a Smash TV thing, but it's in like sort of kind of 3D. isometric.
Cool.
Really, yeah, it is actually really cool. It's and it's not very long to beat either. You can probably beat it in like 20, 30 minutes. So that one, Cannon Spike, is definitely worth sticking on Redream and having a go and playing as Cammy from Street Fighter with a gun. What else did I play? Zombie Revenge is a hybrid. Well, no, it's more of like just a 3D beat 'em up. But it's like the beat 'em up arm of House of the Dead.
Okay.
So it's just a beat 'em up. So you're just walking around punching zombies, and you have guns, and you pick stuff up, and you move from area to area. It's similar to the Die Hard Arcade, which also has a sequel on the Dreamcast called Dynamite Cop, which is also well worth a go for a half an hour. As I know you're a fan of Die Hard Arcade as it is.
Yeah.
Dynamite Cop is very much just more of the same, but looks nicer and plays faster. So both of them are good fun beat 'em up. Zombie Revenge is a little bit clunky, which is a shame, but it definitely feels very House of the Dead. And of course, House of the Dead 2 ported to the Dreamcast as well, which is not a hidden gem. It's just another one that should be an honourable mention. But yeah, I'm sure there are more hidden gems than that. If anyone's listening, they want to hit us up on BlueSky at Winner Is You. Tell us what your favourite
games that have sort of just had their remaster. They came out in that.
They're very fondly thought of. Yeah, Soul Reaver and all that.
Yeah.
Are we missing? Look, if I look at love Shadow Man. I genuinely love that game. If we look at if you go on Metacritic and you have a look at the top, you just go and look at the top list of Dreamcast games of all time. We've basically mentioned most of them. Soul Calibur's number 1, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, NFL 2K1, which is also in really high up in the overall best games of all time list. I think that's number 15 of all time. NFL 2K1 on the Dreamcast. Jet Set Radio, Code Veronica, Quake 3 Arena. I can't see how that would work on just a single controller.
Yeah, I played that.
Single stick controller.
Xbox. I played that there. There's certainly
that would have been a much better way to play it. Yeah. I've never played Test Drive Le Mans, but that's number 8. You got NBA 2K1, which I love, and then 2K2. What else? Virtual Tennis is in there. Unreal Tournament. I never played Unreal Tournament. I think I had one of them, maybe the Leandri Conflict on, what was that on? Xbox?
Yeah, again, there's another similar game that I sort of played. On Xbox, weirdly, just played the single player, which is just the multiplayer, but with bots. I don't know why I played that so much.
That's probably why I never really got on with it myself as well. Yeah, basically, that must have had online capabilities. You'd hope. Yeah. Yes, it does. I can see it on the box from here. And a game that I wish I'd ever played, and if I ever lose my sanity one day, we'll probably have to get hold of, is Samba de Amigo with the maracas.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to do that. I think Cassie would enjoy that.
Yeah, she would.
Grandia 2's in there as well. That's another JRPG, very, very highly thought of. I've played some of Grandia, quite a lot of Grandia, because that came out. They had like a remaster of that on the Switch, multiple platforms a few years ago. I do plan to get to Grandia 2 one day. Fantasy Star Online is another one. Isn't that that's Jeff Gerstmann's Ride or Die, isn't it?
Yeah, he absolutely loves
PSO.
It. Still plays it to this day, I think, on and off.
Yeah, that's the one. He plays the Xbox version, does he?
Pass. Yeah.
The second one or whatever it was, yeah. But that was like a major staple of the Dreamcast in Japan was PSO. We haven't actually mentioned Sonic Adventure other than me saying it wasn't very good when I got my Dreamcast and I preferred Banjo and Mario. Yeah, have you ever played Sonic Adventure?
Yeah, but I can't remember really a single thing about it, but I definitely have played it. It was one of the games that Tony had. Yeah, I don't have many memories of it.
I just I think it's fine. Sonic has never really done 3D right. We all know that. And I remember distinctly thinking maybe it was slight fanboyism after, being Nintendo for so long as a kid. But I remember playing Sonic Adventure for the first time and it looked amazing. And I played it at my mate's house. I was like, this is brilliant. I need it. And then when I actually got deep into it, I kind of thought this is actually quite embarrassing. If you compare this to Mario 64 and Banjo, which came out years before this, how have you made something as I know that they had to fit the speed in there, and that's the big Sonic, not axe to grind, but it's like the stone that's tight, that's chained to Sonic, is that it has to go far.
Yeah.
That's the one. It has to be fast. It has to feel fast. But as a result of that, like, they always feel so imprecise and so like easily annoying that you'll just like fall off the edge, and there'll be bits broken where he just falls through the world. Whereas Mario 64 especially was so all like about precision and control of your character. Whereas to me, like Sonic Adventure just felt like you didn't have any control over your character, which is why I never really loved it all that much. Although it does have a fucking incredible soundtrack, which I will not play on this podcast because it will get picked up by Spotify's robots. Did you ever play Metropolis Street Racer? That was the precursor to Project Gotham, wasn't it?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Sort of aware of it. But yeah, no, I didn't. I knew what it was. That's about as far as it went.
Yeah.
I should probably play that in Redream, actually. I probably really like it.
I was going to play that today, thinking it might sneak into my top 5 if it really caught my eye, but then I just played that Sniper Elite game instead and shot dudes in the bollocks. Loads of racing games on here as well, but one game that I feel I have to mention before we go. Actually, 2 games. First of all, Project Justice. David and I love Project Justice.
Do we? What was that game?
That's the game that we play on the Capcom Fighting Collection online.
Oh, we do love that game, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like the tag team, where it's like three on three. Yeah, Project Justice is a kick-ass 3D fighter.
Really good, that game. The variety of characters is just like wacky in the most fun way possible. I use the word wacky because it's just so apt. Get like soccer players that will kick balls at people.
Yeah.
Like people,
the volleyball dude.
Yeah, the guys that will just come at like the swimmer. Like the just like the photographer. Yeah, there's just so many weird.
Oh yeah, the
game.
photographer. Yeah, flashes the camera at him and stops them. Yeah. Oh, that's great. I forgot about her. I really wish that I could play Bomberman online, or at least I played it at the time, because I think that would have been awesome.
I do love
Bomberman. Yeah. But the game I really want to mention that I can't believe I forgot about in my honorable mentions is Typing of the Dead, which is brilliant. It's House of the Dead, but it's just to shoot zombies, you've got to type the words as quickly as you can. Right. I've got my Dreamcast keyboard. I've played it. It's amazing. All the characters in the game have Dreamcasts strapped to their back for some reason. It's absolutely incredible. And some of the sentences and words that it makes you type are genuinely hilarious. I don't know how they came up with such irreverent nonsense, but it is very funny.
It was a game that kept popping up when I was researching Dreamcast games today, and basically the train of thought seemed to be, if you lived in the early 2000s and you wanted your kid in America to pass the spelling bee, get them Typing of the Dead, and they will ace it. That's how you teach your kids spelling. Kill zombies with words.
Yeah, it's so good. It just should not be overlooked. It is really, really good fun. I think that's it.
Us. We've made it to the end. We've survived another episode.
We have. So long, Dreamcast. 25 years since you died. We still remember ye.
I hardly knew ye.
Well, yeah, the world hardly knew ye. You didn't even last 3 years.
Yeah. Next up, Alex.
Barely 2 years.
You listed what we had next up, and then I've gone and forgotten. What have we got
next?
Yeah,
so I've got the Compendium of Madness up. It is Castlevania, Aria, and Dawn of Sorrow for Metroidvania.
Yeah, I must be. I think I'm near. No, I am near the end of Aria, because I've just got to go and get those souls so that I can get the good.
Oh yeah,
the good ending.
That opens up a little bit extra afterwards, but not a lot.
Yeah, it took me a long time to figure out where I find a succubus for some reason online. Like Googling they would show me the area of the map and I'd be like, oh, I recognize that, and then I'd be like, oh, where is that? No idea. So I think
I swear I found a map that said succubus on it. Yeah, but that's the last one I had to get as well. Was that one? I had the first 2 already, and then I had to get.
I think I've just got the bat one. I don't know.
Okay.
The other 2.
Yeah, because what is the ending that if you don't do that? Is it just that he becomes Dracula and he's just like, oh shit, I'm Dracula?
So I've given myself a spoiler by accident, but it turns out the character you're playing is like a descendant or a reincarnation or I don't know. He's something to do with Dracula, and that's basically how you enhance how the game talks about. Being able to command the power or something throughout the game.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got that to look forward to. Great fun.
Yep, and then after that would be back to the Xbox 360 Top 100 Part 3.
Yeah, which I'm very much looking forward to.
Me too.
Okay, well, I guess that's it. So time to bring this home. So if the podcast isn't enough for you, best place to get us these days is over in BlueSky, at Thrillix for Alex, at Super Smiley for me, and at Winner Is You Pod for us. We've also got TikTok, so head on over there and just search for Winner Is You Podcast, and go and check out Rank 1. Both myself, Alex, and a Winner Is You have profiles over there so you can see what we're playing and what we think of games as we finish them.
Yeah, at time of recording, as of like last week, it now has an app. So it's
does.
actually my complaints about it needing an app were very quickly answered.
It's
what is my?
cool,
I am Thrillix on there as well.
Yes, I think I'm Super Smiley on there. It's a great fun app. Even just as a way of sort of logging the games that you
Definitely.
played, it's useful. As time goes on, you just have this like definitive list of the games that you've been playing over the years, which is really fun.
Yeah, I hope it lasts a long time and continues to improve because it's really good.
Yes. Alex, any housekeeping before we bounce?
I think by the time you hear this, you should be able to go check out the Video Game Hall of Fame's episode where we are nominating games to be the 100th inductee into the Video Game Hall of Fame. So the category for that one is games in the Metacritic Top 100. And
I was thinking that game that was free on Xbox for a while was 100 to 1. There's 100 for you.
And a spoiler alert for that episode: every single one of us nominated an Xbox 360 game.
Oh.
Rob didn't because he claimed it was the PS3 version he was nominating, but the PS3 version was shit, so he's not getting it. It's the 360 version. And let's just say Kelsey will be very pleased with mine. I will be doing my duty as part of Kelsey's crew with my nominee. I thought it was finally time. It's never been nominated by anybody for any reason on the Hall of Fame, so I thought surely now is the time to get Gears on there.
I feel like it's a risk when you bring it out because once it's been nominated, can you bring it back?
In a year later.
A year later, okay.
Yeah. Or when we get to episode 80, I can force it in if I am able to pick from its category still, which I won't be because everybody's game is incredible. So so like we do it where like every person gets to pick one game that lost to go straight in, but whatever category that comes out of is locked out to everybody else, and it goes in the order of like who had the most votes on their games, highest to lowest. So the highest one gets to pick their game first. So with the other 3 games that are in there, I can imagine everyone will be fighting to put their loser in, I would imagine.
Yeah. I finally played through the PS5 version of Gears Ultimate.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
After reading the Slab book, because the end, spoiler alert, that who cares?
I still haven't finished that.
The end of the book basically describes the tutorial of the first game. So
when you go and find Marcus sat in his cell.
Yeah. So I was like, I need to sort of see this with what the author had retconned into Dom's head at that time to see how it fit together. And yeah, it was quite interesting. So that's why I played through that game. And it's short.
Yeah.
You can bash it out and it's still good.
Yeah. And we're going to, for our, one of the spoilers for our Xbox 360 Top 100 Part 3 is Gears of War 2 will be one of the ones selected. And I think we're going to get on that in the next few weeks.
For sure.
I haven't played that game in many, many years. I am so excited
I've
to play
played
with you.
one a lot by this point.
Yes,
of the
too much.
Releases. And two, I don't know. There's a chance I've gone back at some point to try out Horde mode, but I'm not sure I've played through it again since it came out.
Yeah, me too. I maybe played it like in that era again because I'm pretty sure I completed it on Insane with Bear for some idiotic reason. We will not be playing on Insane. Hardcore only, please.
Is 2 the one that finishes on a Brumac?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've got that to look forward to.
I can't wait.
Yep. And on that bombshell, I've been David, he has been Alex, and we have been a Winner's You, and I am out.
Keep gaming, but not on the Dreamcast because they killed it, didn't they, 25 years ago?
export. That was fun. Well done. Good research.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I used multiple sources. I read that Dreamcast, the collected works, I think it is called.
I've not heard of that.
It's read only memory. Ultimate Works, sorry.